The sun hung low over the western plains, painting the sky in burnt orange and dusty rose. A cold wind rolled across the endless stretch of sage and tumbleweed, whispering through the worn fences of the Carson Ranch. Inside the weather-beaten barn, Samuel Carson, a man in his late 40s, stood silently brushing down his old mare. His hands were steady, his eyes tired. He moved with the quiet precision of a man who had learned to keep living even when his heart had long stopped beating. For years, Samuel had lived alone, except for his horse, 2 hounds, and the echo of a memory he could never bury. Clara, his wife, had vanished 12 years ago when their wagon was swept away in a river flood. Her body was never found. Folks said she was gone. Samuel had tried to believe it, but part of him never could. He'd searched for days, weeks, until his body gave out and his faith ran dry. The ranch never felt the same afterward. The laughter that once filled the house was replaced by silence so thick it could choke a man. Samuel stopped going to town except for supplies. He didn't talk much. He didn't need to. The world had taken what mattered, and all that was left was land, work, and time. That evening, as he stepped out of the barn, the horizon burned in gold. The air smelled of dust and rain. He leaned against a fence post, watching a hawk circle above the hills. Then he heard it. The faint creak of wagon wheels. A sound that didn't belong to the wind. Samuel squinted toward the road, his brow furrowing. A small wagon, old and splintered, rolled down the path drawn by a tired mule. Inside it sat 2 little girls, no more than 7 or 8, their blonde hair glinting under the sun. The wagon stopped near the ranch gate. For a moment, they just stared at him. 2 pairs of ocean blue eyes that seemed to see right through his soul. Samuel stepped closer, cautious. "You girls lost?" he called out, his voice rough from years of silence. The older one clutched a worn teddy bear. "Are you Mr. Carson?" He blinked. "That's right." "Who sent you?" The smaller one, shyer but with the same steady gaze, whispered, "Mama said, 'You're our daddy.'" The word struck him harder than a bullet. His breath caught in his throat. For a second, he couldn't move. The world went silent except for the wind brushing through the grass. He tried to steady himself. "What did you just say?" The older girl reached into the wagon and pulled out an old photograph, weathered, faded, edges torn. Samuel's hands trembled as he took it. His heart nearly stopped. It was Clara, smiling in her Sunday dress, holding a baby in each arm. His knees weakened. The barn, the sky, the earth all seemed to tilt around him. Where is your mama now?" he asked, his voice cracking. "She got sick," said the little one. "She told us to find you." Before it was too late. Tears welled in his eyes, burning hot against the chill evening wind. He dropped to one knee, staring at the twins, his wife's eyes looking back at him, her voice echoing through their small faces. He hadn't believed in miracles for a long time, but right there before him stood 2 living proofs that love never truly dies. He took their small hands, dirt-covered and trembling. "You're home now," he said softly. "You're safe." As the sun disappeared behind the ridge, Samuel guided them inside the house, the same home he'd built with Clara years ago. Dust covered the furniture, the smell of wood and memories thick in the air. The twins wandered through the rooms, touching everything with wonder. That night, as they slept curled up together on the old couch, Samuel sat by the fireplace, staring into the flames. He held the photo in his calloused hand, running his thumb over Clara's face. "Why didn't you tell me, Clara?" he whispered to the quiet. "Why didn't you send word?" Outside, the wind carried the sound of the girl's gentle breathing. Samuel leaned back in his chair, eyes heavy with tears. For the first time in years, the house didn't feel empty, and deep inside, beneath the grief and the years of silence, a fragile spark began to glow again. The next morning would bring questions, pain, maybe even answers he wasn't ready to face. But for now, he had something he thought he'd lost forever, a reason to hope again. Dawn crept over the plains like a whisper. Samuel woke to the soft rustle of feet and giggles. The smell of coffee and burnt bread filled the air. He walked into the kitchen to find both girls standing on stools trying to cook. The older one, Annie, stirred something in a pot while the younger, Lila, smeared jam across a slice of bread and most of her face. Samuel chuckled quietly. The sound startled even him. "You 2 planning to burn my kitchen down before breakfast?" Annie gasped. "We wanted to make you breakfast. Mama said you like it strong and sweet." The mention of Mama tightened something in his chest. He sat at the table, watching them with a mix of awe and ache. "Tell me about your mama," he said softly. "Tell me about Clara." They shared stories in their small, honest voices, how she'd sing them to sleep under the stars, how she taught them to pray for the father they never met, how she'd kept a silver locket with his picture, and promised one day they'd find him. Samuel listened, barely breathing. The pain was raw, but behind it, something sacred stirred, love reborn through two tiny hearts. After breakfast, Annie pulled a folded paper from her satchel. "Mama said to give this to you." Samuel's hand shook as he opened it. Clara's handwriting, he'd recognize it anywhere. The letter read, "My dearest Samuel, if you're reading this, it means I couldn't make it home. The flood took me far, but not my love for you. I woke in a small town, broken, lost. The doctor said I'd never travel again, but God had other plans. The twins are your daughters. I named them Annie and Lila. When they're old enough, I'll send them to you, because no matter how far I am, home is where you are. Forgive me for the years you spent alone. I never stopped loving you. Clara." Tears rolled down his weathered face, falling onto the paper. He read it again and again, each word cutting deeper yet healing something old inside him. The girls watched quietly, unsure. Samuel folded the letter gently and tucked it into his vest pocket. Then he looked at them and smiled through his tears. "Your mama was right," he said. "Home is here." That evening he saddled the mare and took the twins out across the fields. They rode slow beneath a sky painted with gold. He showed them the ridge where he and Clara had once carved their initials, the pond where she used to laugh, and the tree she called the Tree of Forever. Annie looked up. "Daddy, do you think Mama can see us?" Samuel's throat tightened. He looked toward the horizon where the sun met the earth in a blaze of light. "I know she can," he whispered. "She's right here with us." As the wind stirred through the grass, the girls laughed, chasing butterflies while Samuel watched with quiet joy. The ranch, once haunted by sorrow, now echoed with life again. That night, as stars blanketed the sky, Samuel sat on the porch with the twins asleep inside. He looked at Clara's letter one more time, smiled, and said softly to the heavens, "You brought them home, Clara. You did good." The camera would fade out on his face, lined, weary, but peaceful, while the warm glow of the house flickered behind him. And just before the credits roll, a soft narrator's voice would say, "Sometimes love doesn't die, it just takes the long way home."